Yeah, 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 yeah. Guard, they on the mic tonight. News coming in left and right. Move better with the latest fight. Gene's got that insight tight. Champions rise and they fall. Wire to wire, got it all. Every move in every brawl. Tune in for the curtain call. Wrestling talk all night long. Catch the latest match and song. Ring the bell, let's get it on. Every story bright and strong.
What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy. It is Guardy3. And, of course, welcome to the Meaty Boyz podcast. Of course, joining me this week, just like every week, he is a limousine riding, jet flying, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mo Betta. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing great. What's good, everybody, on a Tuesday night?
No, absolutely. Without further ado, sorry about that. We're supposed to start 5 minutes ago. A little bit of technical difficulties, but we're cooking now. So let's get into it. I'm going to start off with a little AEW talk because they had the big news last week. At the cheap price of $185 million a year, Warner Brothers is now paying AEW to stay on air, which I think is an absolutely fantastic thing. Some of the perks we're going to have, it seems like the AEW library is going to be going to HBO Max. You can buy the pay-per-views if you're a subscriber at a discounted price. Overall, Mo, what do you think about AEW getting their extension with Warner Brothers?
Look, it's a good deal for both Warner Brothers and AEW. They do put out an entertaining package, and I think they're continuing to grow their fan base. So I think it's a smart.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I'll say it seems like Mo froze up, but no, I absolutely agree. It absolutely is smart. It's a great deal for both sides. Warner Brothers was absolutely. It's been great seeing AEW on TNT, TBS, and I'm really glad to see that all continue.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it's a great partnership, and I think it's going to continue to develop and grow.
No, 100%. Yeah, wanted to touch on that real quick. You know, they just had their 5th year anniversary this past Wednesday. We saw, debut of guys like Shelton Benjamin and MVP just came over. Really good fun match between Ricochet and Will Ospreay was an absolute banger. So overall, I think they're doing great as long as they stick to the mission plan, which is to be an alternative to WWE. I think they get into trouble sometimes because they try to be like WWE, and I think that's not what people are looking for when they're watching AEW. They're looking for that alternative. So I think they've been rolling this year. They've been getting back on track with that, and it's been absolutely fantastic. And I hope them another successful, 5 years, and I hope they continue for a long time because, especially in the wrestling business, competition is always a good thing.
It is, and the wrestling fan base is so vast and wide that for every fan base that's into the WWE, a lot of those same fans, because they're addicted to pro wrestling, they're going to watch AEW. They're going to get every opportunity they get. They're going to watch the alternative, like you said. This takes me back in the day when there was the WWE versus WCW. There was an audience for both brands. The problem was one brand got a little bit too big for their britches, per se, and they ended up not being a brand much longer. But yeah, I always think there's going to be another alternative audience for a different view in terms of looking at AEW. What about ECW? There was always there's a hunger for wrestling fans. Like I believe, and I might be in the minority, that most wrestling fans, the ones that are really fanatical about it, they can watch wrestling 5 days a week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. At the end of the day, everybody likes some a little different. I know I've done that before back in the day because I used to be into TNA on Thursday, so it'd be Raw Monday, TNA on Thursday, SmackDown on Friday. That was before AEW came out. So, and even TNA's been, stepping it up. They've been having good shows lately. So overall, wrestling is in a really healthy place, and I love it. Thank you for welcoming us to National Streaming Sports Roku channel. We are on Roku TV now, too, guys. It's absolutely exciting, and we are honored to be on there. So thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Linda.
I say, and of course, there was another thing with AEW that they did, and I think it brings up an interesting question because it's not an AEW specific thing that they did. We see WWE do this all the time. Ray Phoenix would look like he was about to be a free agent. The rumors were swirling. He's coming to WWE until AEW and Tony Khan said, not so fast. You were injured for a year. We're adding another year to your contract. So I think this is just a fun wrestling question in general for every company, Mo. What do you think about the practice of just adding on time, for missed time? Do you think that's kind of fair? Like, what's your thought on companies adding time to injured wrestlers' contracts?
One, I can understand why they do it because you don't want to lose a talent to another company. Two, if while you're injured, we're still paying you your salary, I would feel like that's time you're kind of getting a vacation. So yeah, I'd add another year to your salary. I think that's a fair practice, honestly. It's a business, right? And if you sign a contract and there's something in the contract that allows the parent company to add another year, I know if I'm the parent company and I value your services, I'm going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, probably one of the few people that don't necessarily have a problem with it. Because at the end of the day, they're paying you while you're hurt, and now you're just getting paid an extra year also. It's not like they're holding you hostage. I know a lot of people are saying, like, well, they're holding the wrestler hostage, and I don't really see it. Especially in that sense of, like, they're still paying you. Like, I'm sure if you really wanted to, you could work out a release with the company. But, like, in the terms of Ray Phoenix, like, they want to hold on to him for another year, and he seems content being there for another year. Like, I'm all for it. I actually almost think that it was, I don't know if he started the rumors of him going to WWE, but if he did, it's almost kind of like his fault and just the rumor mill's fault in general that his contract got extended because it almost felt like they were going to let it expire, but then the rumors picked up like, yeah, he's WWE bound once he hits free agency, and that's when all of a sudden time got added, so it almost shows the wrestlers too, like, be careful what you put out in the rumor mill, because if he really wanted to get out, he kind of got bit in the butt by his WWE departure being, or his arrival being his next move.
And look, let's not forget these promotions. Sometimes it can be personal. It can be a little petty. Sometimes they might hold on to a talent just for spite. We're not going to do anything necessarily with you, but we just don't want them to have you. So we're going to hold on to you for another year.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if the Lucha Brothers and Phoenix and them do come to WWE, no shortage of dream matches for them to have. They're absolutely phenomenal talent. So,
oh, no question.
Overall, just looking forward to seeing what they do next. There's still a lot of great matches for them in AEW as well. So it'll be an interesting year. And, I think Guillermo will switch it up a little bit because I found this quote interesting. The Undertaker visited Raw a few weeks ago, switching over to WWE. He told Gunther directly that he would have drawn a lot of money wrestling him. Undertaker told him that he's his guy. So I personally, I think that'd be a fun match, Gunther versus Prime Taker. And it just goes to show how much faith that, the company and the legends and everybody have in Gunther. So I'm curious, Mo, who would be some of your Gunther dream opponents? Because that's kind of what question I stem from that. I'm like, Taker, Gunther would be fun, but who else would you like to see Gunther fight if he could go back and fight anybody?
I think Taker Gunther would be great. I think Gunther, Shawn Michaels. I can see Gunther and Shawn Michaels. You know what? I can see Gunther and Razor. I can see that match. I think that would be high impact. They're both big, tall men. That would be an interesting matchup. Or you could put him against another scientific guy, more of a grappler. My guy, Gunther versus Bret Hart.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That all of those would be so much fun with Gunther. I would have loved to seen Gunther be able to wrestle like a prime Kurt Angle. That was the first
That's
name that
another
came
good
to
one.
mind for me because that man can just wrestle anybody, and it would be really fun. I'll say Razor Ramon is a really good one, just in general. Another name that came in mind to me, Owen Hart. That man
Yes,
could absolutely wrestle, and he wrestled really well against giants. And Gunther's a very big dude.
he is, but you know what? He can hit you with power. He can wear you down. I mean, he's a complete wrestler. Like it's interesting to watch him develop because now even the guys that are there, the established guys, they recognize that Gunther could be the next guy. Like we're seeing Cena say he's retiring. We're seeing Orton near the end. Like he's closer to the end than he is the beginning. Gunther looks like that next wave where he can be the guy or one of the guys for the next 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see what they do for him at WrestleMania. I'm really hoping at this point it's him versus John Cena at WrestleMania. I know John Cena's, lost a step. He's almost to retirement, but I'm sure that Gunther, if there's anybody that can bring like a really one more elite match out of John Cena, it's probably just Gunther. John Cena's an expert at, selling and facial expressions and promo work. They build up the feud perfectly, and I'm sure Gunther can, take Cena to a really good match, maybe even the best match of his last run.
I wouldn't mind seeing that matchup. Like you said, Cena's nowhere near where he was at his peak, but I think there's still something there. I still think he can put on one more great show, one more great match. And you bring up a great point. Gunther is the kind of in-ring talent. I think he can bring out the best in John Cena.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. And Gunther, I saw that unfortunately Ilya Dragunov's now out on the shelf with a torn ACL.
That's my guy.
Gunther made sure to post on Twitter to, taunt him since he's the one that technically injured him. So I think that they're setting up for when Ilya comes back, you're going to get a Gunther versus Dragunov match. 2025 is going to be a really fun year for Gunther. And this 2024, we're about to get Gunther and Cody. That's going to be absolutely fantastic too.
Let me ask you, when we get Gunther and Cody, do we get a definitive winner or one of those things where it ends where it's a no contest or disqualification? I feel like they're both at a point in their careers where they're just at that peak. I'm not sure I can see either one of them dropping a belt.
I think that there will be a definitive winner just because of the belt, because they're
I forgot. They actually get to keep the belt. Let me backtrack. They're not fighting for their belt. They're fighting for that new that new award. You're right.
Yeah.
So the fact that their titles are not on the line, there'll be a definitive winner. I'm going to say it's going to be Gunther.
I agree. I think Gunther wins. You could think you get interference from Kevin Owens. We'll touch on more of him and Cody in a bit, but yeah, I think it's Gunther, and I really like the other match for Crown Jewel, the Liv versus Nia.
That's gonna be fun.
Just because I think what ends up happening is a Tiffany cash-in.
I've been waiting. How long have I told you? It's only a matter of time before Tiffy cashes in. The problem is she keeps getting ready to cash in a little too early. She's gotta wait till she's more down and out, man. Like she's a little too impatient. Like you gotta wait for the perfect moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that we're gonna see a situation too. Saudi Arabia, you cash in, you not only win the women's title, you also win that new title. So I think, she wins, just kind of wins it all. And hey, do it right. My only question is if you cash in during a champion versus champion match, like, Do you have to cash in for a specific title, or can you just pin either one of them and win?
That's a good point. Like, yeah,
That's my
I'm coming for the internet. Yeah, that's a really good point.
that,
I didn't think of that.
yeah. That's the only part that's getting me. Like, does she have to pick one to cash it on, or is it just pin either one of them and you're a champion? So that'll be interesting to see. But I do think that we're getting a cash in at Crown Jewel.
It's about that time. I think Nia's had a good run, but I think Tiffany Stratus is going to be that next one. I think she's going to be somebody that once she takes a belt, I think because of how she is, her persona, and her abilities in the ring, I think she's going to hold on to the belt for a while.
No, that's fair. As we should. When it becomes Tiffy time, it should stay that way for a really long time.
And you know what, Brett? It works, right? Because she's one of those talents that a lot of fans love, but a lot of fans love to hate. So once she gets the belt, I think that heat on her is only going to get that much hotter.
No, absolutely. And speaking of hot, we had the Bad Blood pay-per-view this past Sunday, and that started off hot. We started off that pay-per-view, and we don't see this happen often, but we started off the pay-per-view with the best match of the night, in my opinion. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell. That match was fun. It was perfect. There was a lot of great storytelling. It was a fair share of, your brutal bumps and everything. Drew McIntyre even needed 16 staples after the match because he just legitimately accidentally got busted open during the match. So, Mo, what did you think about that Hell in a Cell match to open the show?
You know what? If I'd have known that was going to be the highlight, and it ended up being the highlight of the night, you could have packed it in because nothing else topped that. That had everything in it. It had the drama. It was brutal. There were a lot of false finishes. There were multiple times when both men, Brett, looked finished. And it was one of those matches that I was totally invested in. And I would have been good with whoever would have won. The fact that Punk won, I think this pretty much ends the feud between he and Drew McIntyre. I think they both move on and bigger things, but it was a very intense, a very good match.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's so funny because you had people getting hit the face with toolboxes but the part that made me cringe the most, Drew McIntyre missing the Claymore kick and hitting his tailbone on the steel steps. I saw that and I immediately went to hold my back. I'm like, I think I might have to call into work tomorrow because of that. My back hurts just from watching that.
Yeah, I don't think you get paid enough for that one. That to me, that was the most painful moment of the night.
Yeah, I was thinking he was gonna land flush on top of the steps, but he went short and hit his tailbone, and I'm like, nope, you couldn't pay me enough. You can throw me on a pile of thumbtacks before I just smash my tailbone against the steps like that. No, thank you. All good.
And Brett, look, I think that was the plan. I think Drew landed wrong. Period. I think he was supposed to land flat and flush, and he hit it at the worst angle. It just looked painful.
No, absolutely. After that, we had Nia Jax versus Bayley. I don't know how else to describe this match besides it happened. It was there. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything to write home about. Outside of, Jessica Carr, the referee, credit to her for willing to take bumps in this match, too.
She did.
They did the best they could. It just wasn't. Bayley and Nia never necessarily had this, 10 out of 10 chemistry together. But they always do their best, and they put on a serviceable match.
They did. But I don't want to see those two in the ring anymore. I don't want to see that again. That it just doesn't really work. And I remember when Nia beat her, that match was better, but I just don't think they have great chemistry. And look, Nia's not an easy talent to work with, obviously, her being so big and powerful, but there's only so much you can physically do with her. So it can be difficult at times. I just think they're just bad. They're a bad matchup in terms of chemistry. But like you said, it happened, and it's not the worst match I've ever seen. It just wasn't that great.
Yeah, no, the worst match is coming up, but it's not the next match that happened. Finn Balor and Damian Priest. That was a fun sprint. It did what it needed to do. You made Damian look strong. Finn, absolutely competitive match. So overall, I'm curious if they'll keep the feud going.
Well, I don't think that's over.
I'll say it.
Over.
Yeah, I don't think it's over either. So I think that one's just beginning, but it was a fun start. And I'm curious on where they go next with it.
I think that's not over. Obviously, Liv and Mommy's not over. They're going to stretch that drama out some more. The thing about the bloodline, not the bloodline, but right now when you look at the factions and stuff like that, the Judgment Day, I don't know, it's a feud, but when you look at what's left in the Judgment Day, like I don't know, but Carlito and JD just don't strike fear into anybody, do they? Like
No,
I feel like Carlito's job is just to take punches for everybody else.
they're there to play that Pat Briscoe role for Vince McMahon when he was there just to take punches for Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe. They were there to take punches for Vince.
Right.
JD and Carlito, you know what you're there to do. But nothing can prepare me for the absolute train wreck that Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan was. And I'm just really talking about the ending, because that match was fine all the way up until the end. I think it had some innovative counters, countering the Oblivion into like a handstand.
Right.
Not what I would expect from Rhea Ripley. That caught me off guard. And I thought this match was actually going really good. And then the ending happened. Dominic falls out of the shark tank. Well, kinda. He gets caught up in the chain. Rhea Ripley goes to beat him with a kendo stick. And then Raquel Rodriguez debuts. I don't think anybody could have cared less. I don't think anybody cheered. I don't think anybody accidentally sneezed. Nobody made a noise in that building. She jumps her right in front of the referee. The referee has to call for the bell. But then Raquel throws Liv on top and starts looking for the referee to count the pinfall, even though the bell has already rung.
Yeah, what was that?
That reeked of absolute miscommunication and mistiming. Like, I don't think the ref was supposed to see Raquel, but she just came too early, and that was so convoluted and such a bad ending to such a fine match. Like, I thought it was good, but the ending just completely derailed it, and it was just so bad.
It was a great match up until that point. And I think you're right. I think this was all about miscommunication and bad timing. It was, I believe it was not supposed to end that way. Obviously, it was supposed to end with her helping Liv retain cleanly or whatever, and it just didn't go that way. Because of that ending, the way I look at it is they owe us a great match from beginning to end after what happened there. The funny part was Raquel interfering, like you said initially. Normally, the crowd would have a reaction, but the crowd was just so calm and quiet. Like, I was like, man, she brings no heat, right? Like, what happened?
Yeah, because I saw her like run out and start beating her with the kendo stick, and everybody just looks bored. Like, nobody's reacting or doing anything. I'm like, that is the worst thing to happen in wrestling. If you're getting booed, people telling you suck or whatever, that's great as long as you're getting a reaction.
Right.
But there was just nothing there. So I'm hoping they can find a way to rectify that in the coming weeks, and she's just able to get better crowd reactions and find a way to spruce it up. I know at least for me, I'm hoping that Liv and Rhea take a break from each other for a while. I know another match is coming, especially the way the one had just ended.
Right.
But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, you guys have been feuding for months now. Like, it's time to take a couple months, go fight other people for a while. Like, come back to this next year. Like, maybe.
And maybe, you know what? I think you're right. They find a way to just not involve those two so much, maybe for a little while. Like you said, they just need a break, just a little bit of a break. Maybe focus on something else. Maybe the new thing is Liv is focused on beating up Raquel Rodriguez, something like that. I just think we've seen them in the ring multiple times, and I do think there's chemistry there, but I think you run the risk of burnout or overkill. So yeah, space it out a little bit, or maybe just focus on other potential feuds. At some point, something is going to go on between Jade Cargill. You feel like that partnership between her and Bianca Belair it looks great, but I feel like it's tedious. Like at some point, it'll go from great to bad. Sort of like what they're trying to do with New Day. Xavier Woods is snapping. You can tell it's only a matter of time before he turns on Kofi and they end up in a match. Although at this point in their careers, after all they've accomplished, I'm not sure anybody would care about a New Day feud. You know what I mean? Like when they were at their peak and they were winning belts, it would probably carry more weight. They're kind of near the end. I'm sure that he wants to see those two in the ring against each other.
Yeah, the Jade and Bianca, they're kind of giving me like vibes of like when the Mega Powers broke up between Macho and Hulk Hogan, and they had that really long, slow build to WrestleMania.
Right.
We're gonna get that same all the way up until WrestleMania. Maybe at the Royal Rumble, Jade throws Bianca out and it starts some friction and goes downhill from there. But I agree. I think they'll continue to be a team. I think they'll slow burn that, continue to have each other's back. And I could see that. And even if you don't want to hold off that long, I could see them saving that match for like the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun women's match to have at the Royal Rumble. And then they can even interact later in the Royal Rumble match if you want to. But yeah, I think that's going to start. You're going to start seeing friction with that too. And of course, with Kofi and Xavier, I like what they're doing. I think they'll have some great matches. I just think people love the New Day too much, and I'm not sure. I feel like people want to see them more together than fighting each other.
Yes,
I think they'll make the rivalry great. It'll be fun. Killing it so far with the material that they've been given. But I think the New Day are at that point where, sure, they can have a good match against each other, but I think there's more people. There's more people that just want to see these guys together and not fighting each other.
Right. Maybe even make another run at the tag belts, right?
Absolutely. But of course, our main event of Bad Blood, the returning Roman Reigns first match since WrestleMania 40, teaming with Cody against Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. We had it all. This match was fun. It was definitely the second best match of the night. It was chaotic. It was a car crash. Cody took out Jacob Fatu by going off the top rope and putting him through the announce table. Shades of what Jacob Fatu did at SummerSlam. Well, in came Tama Tonga and the infamous Tonga Loa to try to help take down Roman, which was working until a returning Jimmy Uso took out both of them, and which allowed Roman Reigns to win the match. But that wasn't all. And the funny part is, I will admit, I missed this part because I thought it was over. I walked away, and then you heard it. If you smell what The Rock is cooking, after the match, the final boss, The Rock, returns. He stares everybody down, and then he cuts a 5-minute promo on Instagram Live. Mo, just between the Bloodline, tag match and The Rock coming back and the end of the pay-per-view in general, like, what do you make of all that?
I think that when you saw The Rock walking the raid, he's cursing and he's upset. But what you don't know is what side is he leaning towards? Because you can say it's all about family, but clearly the family's divided, and they're not going to come together just over a conversation. So I'm trying to figure out. I feel like at some point, I thought before that at some point Rock and Roman would turn on each other, more Rock than Roman, and I still think that might happen. I think Rock's playing it down the middle, but at some point at a pay-per-view, maybe not the next one, but at some point in a pay-per-view, Rock's going to make a decision on where he lands. And my gut feeling is he's going to be rolling with Solo and Jacob Fatu.
And you know what? I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to make an enemy out of Jacob Fatu either.
Me neither.
I would do whatever I could. Like, you know what? You want me on your side? You got it, man. Just please don't hurt me.
Yeah, that's a dangerous guy.
Whether it's Survivor Series, because, it really does feel like they're building up towards the bloodline versus the OG bloodline. Roman and Jimmy are back together. I think the next move, you get Sami Zayn in there, the honorary Uso, and of course, I think you tried to do your best to get Jey Uso in there and just reunite the whole OG bloodline to go against the new bloodline. Whether The Rock turns there or the Royal Rumble, it's coming. We all know WrestleMania, not 41, because it sounds like Rock and Cody, that's 41. But WrestleMania 42, I think that's where you aim to have that long-awaited Rock and Roman match. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I think you got to start building on that. I would say probably by, I think the build starts in January, and you're going to see this crazy build for the next year. It's going to be like that John Cena and Rock match with the year-long build. And we all know how that went. It was absolutely fantastic. I remember that being must-watch TV every week.
It was.
Once we got closer to WrestleMania and The Rock and John were just going back and forth on the microphone. And not to mention, not only will we get to see Roman and Rock on the microphone, The Rock and Paul Heyman going against each other on the microphone again. Because I'm sure the Wiseman will back Roman on that.
Those are two of the top MCs of all time, the Wiseman and The Rock. Wow.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm still sold on. I think Roman and Jacob Fatu. I think that's your WrestleMania match for Roman Reigns. I don't think he's touching the World Heavyweight title. And I think that Universal title match, that's just The Rock's. Him and Cody. And I think Roman Fatu, and I still think they're going to... You saw a peek of this on Monday Night Raw. CM Punk's going away for a while, but before he left, Seth Rollins confronted him. And I think they kind of spoiled a WrestleMania main event right there. Overall, I think WrestleMania 41 is just shaping up to be this absolutely fantastic card. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but they're teasing us with so many good matches for that.
They are, I can see right now there's the potential for like 6 or 7 matches that are main event matches. You know what I mean? They're of that caliber of main event matches. There's so much potential with the storytelling or where the storyline goes. Obviously, they're going to stretch out the bloodline feud. I don't think they're going to resolve that right away because that's going to play into the bigger picture. So, yeah, I think that's great. Obviously, yes, we want to see what eventually goes down between Seth Rollins and Punk. The thing about Rollins and Punk, though, I think once they get in the ring versus each other, I don't think it's going to be one of those extended feuds where they're in 5 or 6 matches. I think it's going to be one match, one great match.
Honestly, I'd be down because I think CM Punk has done a good job these last 2 matches, just knocking off the washed allegations. I know a lot of people are throwing that word around. CM Punk is washed after that match at SummerSlam. And I think he's done a great job showing how amazing he is with just in-ring psychology. Yeah, you're not going to see him do some of the crazy moves that he did when he was younger. You're not going to see moves like the Pepsi plunge and all that. But he's become so good in just other aspects, just with facial expressions. So good on the microphone building up to the matches, just selling. Like, he does so many things well that I have no doubt that him versus Seth Rollins, when it happens, is going to be an absolute banger.
Oh, agreed. Facts.
And of course, and I'm excited too. I love what WWE did too, because we also got Kevin Owens finally turned on Cody Rhodes.
It was coming.
It didn't happen on the show. He got jumped in the parking lot where fans recorded it. WWE weren't even the ones to record this one, which I'm sure they had a couple plants in there in the crowd, but mostly it was just the crowd recording Cody going to his bus. KO comes over. They get into an argument. KO is mad. And then he attacks him. This was so creative and great. I don't think I've ever seen a company really just do a heel turn off camera like they pulled off after the show. I loved it. The creativity was absolute 10 out of 10.
And what does this set up? This sets up, obviously, eventually the feud. It's going to be a mini feud, because I do think when Gunther and Cody match up, at some point, KO is going to get involved. He may very well cost Cody the match. Or maybe he'll mess up and cost Gunther the match. I don't know. But I expect he cost Cody the match. It felt like this was building for a long time, because KO is a proud guy. And I know Cody was always trying to do the right thing by him, but I think KO was just getting annoyed with Cody being so good. Do you know what I mean? Like, at some point, you got to stop being Captain America. I can't stand it. I think Kevin Owens just snapped. He's actually sick of Cody.
And I don't blame him. I saw some people asking, well, why would Kevin Owens do that? I'm like, hello. Last time we saw Roman Reigns and him have a match, Roman was running him over with golf carts and all this other crazy thing. That man made Kevin Owens' life miserable for years, and now you're just going to turn around and help him? Especially after we all sacrificed everything for you to finally dethrone this man after 4 years? I love them. Building off that story. I love Seth Rollins touching on it and looking really pissed that Cody teamed up with Roman on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I get it. And it makes sense that you get that reaction. I think Kevin Owens is looking at this dude like, wait a minute, all we've been through, all of us, at the hands of the bloodline, and especially Roman Reigns, and you're going to help this guy out for what reason? And there's not really a good reason why you would help him out. It really isn't. It's not like Roman and you are like bros. Roman, every time he looks at you, he's looking at the belt.
Yeah.
I'm Kevin Owens. I'm snapping too. I can't believe you're going to help this guy out after everything he's cost all of us over the course of the years. I just think Cody didn't do himself any favors tag teaming with Roman.
No, I agree. And that's one thing I've loved about the new direction under, Triple H, is they always make sure to remember the little details like that. And now there's also another factor. Of course, we're talking Randy Orton. I'm sure Randy Orton's now going to turn on him at some point.
Agreed.
Because the bloodline also costed him 2 years of his career he was out after being attacked by them. So I love the fact that they're playing it off with everybody just being mad at Cody for teaming with Roman, because it makes sense. And another thing I loved about Raw is we may have figured out the Wyatt Six's next victim, because we were watching a segment with The Miz and Karrion Kross. All of a sudden, there was static. And then the screen simply said, "There you are." And that flashed the Wyatt Six symbol. Now, everybody's sitting here going, well, they're going after The Miz next. But What if they weren't? I'm thinking that there's a real possibility that the Wyatt Six are going after Karrion Kross in the New Testament.
I agree. That makes sense because of the New Testament along with Karrion Kross. That is the next feud. They're not going after the Miz.
You're right.
At least not yet.
Well, if people are like, well, the Miz, he turned on R-Truth, and the Wyatt Six's whole thing is as so people that have mistreated their quote unquote family and people that have been close to them. Except the person who continuously keeps turning people on others is Karrion Kross.
Right.
He's done it with Xavier and Kofi. Now he's doing it with the Miz. So I know a lot of people are probably expecting the Wyatt Six to come after the Miz next. But I just think it's a very realistic expectation. I can see it happening. That it's not the Miz. That we're going to get some Wyatt Six versus the Final Testament matches. Which I think it'll be fun. Big Author is a Pain fan. I think they're great. They move around great for their size. I will not lie to anybody. I'm not a big fan of Karrion Kross. But I see the potential. I see the vision. But if they can bring a good match out of Karrion Kross, it might be, time to start thinking about ending this whole Karrion Kross experiment.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I think this next feud with the Wyatts will make or break his career in WWE.
No, I agree, because it's one of those things, like I said, with Kross. He's intriguing on the microphone. He's got his character work down on the microphone, but when he gets into the ring, it's boring. His entrance is fun, but overall, it's almost like we're running into a situation where more people care about Scarlett than him. This is like Mark Miro and Sable 2.0, where more people care about the ballet than they do about the actual ballet.
And that's never a good sign.
So I'm hoping he pulls it out. Hoping he figures it out, gets the crowd behind him, and Karrion Kross has this great career resurgence. But I think worst case scenario, they might have to start turning their attention more to Scarlett because everybody loves her.
They do.
But not everybody seems to be big on Kross.
He's just a very boring in-ring performer. He just is. He doesn't give you anything. He has power, but he's not incredibly powerful. He's not a athletic wrestler. He's not a skilled grappler. He's not a scientific wrestler. He just doesn't. I feel, you know what, honestly, Brett, to me, I feel like Karrion Kross, his calling in WWE, if he actually has a calling, it's not as a performer, it's as a manager.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think it would make better sense that he's a manager, and maybe he could manage a couple of championship teams. Obviously, with his size and strength, he could interfere and help them win matches. But I think with his talent on the microphone, he's better as a manager than he is as an in-ring performer.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the main event of Raw was Braun Breaker. Well, sorry, wasn't the main event, but I was thinking of that Xavier Woods Jey Uso match,
which was a great match.
It was a great match, and I thought about Braun Breaker because I don't think I've seen anybody like. He was a bad guy, and then for like a day he turned into a good guy, and then he turned heel again a week later by just beat up Jey Uso, and then he speared Kofi, and then after being really reluctant to help out, Xavier finally comes in just to get absolutely walloped by Braun too. Overall, fun match, and it doesn't look like that Braun Breaker is done with that IC title quite yet.
He's not done, and so obviously, eventually, Jay is going to give him another shot at it. Because you know how Jay is. Jay's that kind of guy. He's going to give him another shot at it. And maybe Breaker wins it back. Maybe he doesn't. I hope, because it took Jay this long as a singles wrestler, that he can hold on to it for a little bit longer.
No, absolutely. And one the big thing too with Bad Blood that it almost slipped my mind, but there's been a lot of talk. We had a segment with Gunther and Goldberg.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious. That was funny to me, actually.
That was Gunther going, I got 3 minutes for you, Goldberg, was absolute top tier comedy. He was fantastic. Now, my question is, do you think that was just something they did to get the crowd going because they were in Atlanta, where Bill Goldberg's from? Or do you think there is a potential match down the line with Gunther and Goldberg? And if so, Goldberg's matches lately have been underwhelming. Do you think that Gunther could lead him to that one final great match?
I don't. And I think because of his limited skill set, it was a joke in the moment. But when Gunther says, I have 3 minutes, that's kind of a hint at what Goldberg really is, right? Like, Goldberg's not going to be in a 40-minute match. He didn't have anything to offer you in a 40-minute match. He's got a limited skill set. He was never a great wrestler. He was a great high impact wrestler, but not a great wrestler. And it's funny because we were just talking about somebody who I would say in some ways is a young Goldberg, and that would be Breaker, right? I don't need to see old Goldberg when there's young Goldberg. Not necessary. I don't think that's a future match.
No, that's fair. I really thought that as very a realistic possibility. So I'm like, I put in the one chat and I'm like, maybe they could pull it off like a quick 5-minute match like him and Lesnar had at WrestleMania 30.
It's got to be quick.
And then I got hit with the reality check of, yeah, but the issue is Goldberg can't move like that anymore. I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Watching Goldberg even from like that last great match in WrestleMania 33 to now is a stark difference. And I know Goldberg wanted his one more retirement match.
Right.
And if they're going to give it to him, I guess Gunther would be a great opponent for it, but I really don't want to see another Goldberg match.
And the thing is, like you pointed out, at this age and the mileage on his body, he just isn't the explosive athlete he was at his peak. He's not. And once you get past that, he doesn't really have a lot to offer you. Like you could give him a retirement match, but don't make it be for a belt. Make it fight another great wrestler near put Goldberg versus Orton. Something like that one more time.
Yeah, although if they do have that match, I need them to scare everybody. Everybody was saying, oh, Gunther has to squash Goldberg if that happened. And I'm like, if they do that match, go all the way and scare everybody. You start off that match, have Goldberg hit a spear, hit another spear, hit the jackhammer, and then the good old-fashioned kick out at 2.9999. Because we all know that we've seen Goldberg win matches that he has absolutely no business winning. And by that, I mean Goldberg.
This is true.
Fiend. He should have never won that match. But regardless, he did. He beat Kevin Owens, even though I don't think he should have won that match. So it's not out of the realm of possibility if they matched him up with someone like Gunther, that he would win the match. And I wouldn't have him win. But I would scare everybody into thinking that he is by just hitting all of his signature moves right off the bat and getting that super near fall.
Let him come out really fast like you described, and everybody thinking like, oh my God, right, it would scare everybody. And you're thinking, man, Goldberg's going to take out Gunther. Then Gunther kicks out. Goldberg has maybe another moment or two. Then Gunther hits him with one of those counters and a slam. And then I think Gunther finishes Goldberg off like he's done everybody else lately. He hits him with the sleeper.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's been the great thing about what Triple H and the WWE have been doing, and it almost feels like they've rectified the issue. You asked 5 years ago, what's the issue? There's not really a lot of stars. You're relying on a lot of veterans, but it made sense at the time because there really wasn't a great mid-card. You didn't feel like anybody there was like going to be the next big superstar. Now it feels like there's just future superstars all over the place. Like, you got guys like Gunther sitting around. You got Montez Ford of the Street Profits, looks like an absolute killer.
I
Ilya
think
Dragunov.
I love that. I love what you just pointed out. Just those three right there. When you say Gunther, when you say, because I think Montez Ford is going to blow up as a singles competitor uh, once he gets out of tag team wrestling. Uh, you know how I feel about Dragunov. I think they have a deep. I think they have a deep bench. I think they have a deep bench in the WWE.
Yeah, and I think something a couple of years ago you would say we would both agree that was lacking, but now they've taken the time to really develop the mid card, NXT, and these under guys, and now you can have your top stars afford to miss time, and
Yeah.
you don't miss a beat. Like Seth Rollins just missed, what was it, like a month, and in a month you saw them just, okay, we're just going to elevate Bronson Reed. And they built up this great last man standing between him and Braun Strowman. Just all over, you have guys just performing at beyond wildest expectations, and it almost gives me vibes back in the Attitude Era. And what made the Attitude Era so special wasn't just the main event, which was absolutely loaded, but everybody in the mid card and the undercard was doing something.
That's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the development of the stars in NXT. And I'm like you said, I'm looking at some of the young stars there, and eventually, at some point, Trick Williams is going to be there, right? He's gonna be. I mean, another young talent who could just fill out the middle of that roster. Like, and you can have feuds with the young talents, not even for belts, because that's what you have right now. And I love stuff like that. So yeah, you're right. What Triple H and company have done, they've built the roster out where you don't have to rely so much on just your veterans.
Yeah, and keep the vets from getting burned out.
Yeah, that's great though, and they've done it in the women's division as well.
Yeah, normally in absence like someone like Becky Lynch taking this much time off would have absolutely crippled the women's division, but they kept on chugging. Even undercard feuds like Mi Chin and Chelsea Green just had an absolutely fun dumpster match.
Chelsea Green is weird, right? Because for some reason, I go, I don't get her, but when you watch her perform, she's actually a good performer. She's really good. Like, she kind of has a slight bit of that Dom heat where you're like, I just don't like her. But you kind of love that about her because you can tell she's talented in the ring.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That spot they did with the power bomber through a table sitting on the dumpster was wild. So credit to the ladies for that one. But that is about all the time we have for today, Mo. Did you have anything you wanted to say before we get out of here, sir?
I'm gonna say what I always say. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure you check out all the great content that we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network. We appreciate you guys so much.
And of course, next week on the Meaty Boyz podcast, we're gonna have our first special guest for you guys. Good friend of ours, the founder of Fountain City Pro Wrestling. We're gonna have Chase on next week.
That's amazing.
He's got an event coming up. So we're going to be talking about Wayward Son. That's the next event for his Fountain City Pro company. We're going to be talking about the intricacies, the challenges of owning a wrestling company. A little bit about wrestling too. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to having Chase on next week. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you check out the morning show tomorrow at 8 a.m. And I hope everybody here enjoys the rest of their night.